When you create your presentations, it's usually because you want to communicate something to your audience. Well, sometimes what you want to communicate is data, which could be shown in a table. Using a table keeps that data organized and easy to read and easy to look at for your audience. So that's what we're going to do in this first lesson. We're going to insert a table into a presentation, so right onto a slide. And there's a couple of ways to do that. Once we've done that, in the next lesson we'll go into editing and formatting those tables. So for now we need to go up to the Office button and click Open. Navigate to the Lesson 8 folder of your exercise files, and let's open up this first one, Eat Cake 8A. Give it a click, click Open, and there's our presentation. So we've seen this presentation in previous lessons, maybe a different theme here. But I want to scroll down on the left-hand side here to the matrix here on slide 6. So this is actually a matrix made up of 4 corners, and you can see it has to do with tools and cookware. Well, we're going to insert a slide after this one, and it's going to be a content slide that allows us to insert a table that way. So here's what I mean. We go up to the New Slide button. We know that when we insert new slides, they go after the currently selected slide, which is slide 6. But when we click the bottom half, we can choose what kind of slide. And you can see some of these contain content, like title and content. Here's to content. And you can see here's another one here with a caption. Let's go to this one right here, title and content. Give it a click. And we're on to our new slide. You can see we've got a new slide 7 here. Let's just click in the area that says click to add title, and we'll just quickly type in inventory here. And down below we want to put in a table that's going to contain our inventory data. So we won't click here where it says click to add text. That'll start a bulleted list. But down towards the center of this slide you can see we've got a number of icons for media clips, for inserting clip art, pictures, smart art graphics, charts, and there it is, the first one, insert table. So when we click this button, a dialog box appears asking us how many columns and how many rows do we want. So we can take a good guess at what we're going to need, or we may know exactly what we need, but don't worry about it if you're not exactly right, because we can go back later and add rows, add columns, or even remove them if we don't need them. So I'm going to start with 5 columns, and if I wanted to change that I can use the arrows to move up and down, or simply type over the 5, whatever I want. Number of rows, I'm going to change that from 2, and I'm just going to type in 5 here. And I'll click OK. So right away my table's drawn inside that shaded area we just saw, that border, and you can see it's got the same theme that's applied to the entire slide presentation. It's down here on the status bar called Opulent. So that's kind of cool. We don't have to do much formatting unless we want to. For example, you can see that I've got 5 equal columns as far as their widths go. And then I've got those 5 rows. The top one by default is what we would call a header row, meaning that information appears at the top of the table, and if it carried over 2 slides, that top row would also show up on the second slide. You can see also that on the ribbon, a number of the tools for tables have appeared. And over here for table style options, you can see that header row is selected, so that's our header row. Banded rows is also selected, that's why you're seeing darker and lighter shades in between. Makes it a little easier to read that way. But lots of other options, and in the next lesson we'll get into the table styles and the formatting and editing of our tables. Right now let's just get a little bit of text in here. So our cursor's flashing in the first cell. In there we'll type in item number. Now I'm going to hit the Tab key on my keyboard to move to the next cell, or of course you could just click in the next cell if you wanted to. Let's type in the word description. We'll tab over. We'll type in, how about price, quantity, and then maybe in the last column, a total. There we go. We'll click in the next cell, and you can see now we're ready to type our item numbers. And we would continue on typing, filling out the table. Alright, I'm going to click outside the table now, and I just click on the slide anywhere to deselect that border we saw, and there's our finished product, at least for now. So that's one way to insert a table into a presentation. Another way is if you're working on a slide that doesn't already have that content option there. For example, if we wanted another table down below, we could go up to the Insert tab. So we click here, and the very first icon or button is the table button. And it is a drop down, so when we click on it you can see we can choose the number of column and rows. And you can see by default where it's going to go. We'll move it after. We also have insert table down here, which will give us that little dialog that we saw when we inserted our first table. We can draw tables as well. It's actually just to draw the borders of a table. And then we can also insert an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to do that in a couple of lessons. So for now, let's just go up here and we'll do another 5 by 5. So 5 columns by 5 rows. We click right there when we're done. And now we can move this by going to the border, and when we see the 4-sided arrow, click and just drag that down. I'm going to leave it right there. Now you can see by default that this one is just slightly different. Our column widths are not quite as wide as the first table we created, but they are equal. The row heights are all the same. So we need to know how to edit tables. For example, if we wanted to stretch this out so that it's wider, it matches up with our table up above. Maybe we want to change some of the coloring and so on. All of that is coming up next when we start to edit and format our tables.